everyone. I'm Ashley Still. I'm the Dodge City Advisor for the Small Business Development Center. The SBDC is an economic development unit that helps entrepreneurs start, grow, or transition out of their business. And we do that through trainings like this one, as well as one-on-one counseling. Our Southwest Kansas SBDC Center is based out of Seward County Community College and is responsible for the 22 Southwest Kansas counties. The SBDC is a grant program funded in part through the SBA, the Kansas Department of Commerce, and then we're hosted by Seward County Community College. The Dodge City office is hosted by the Dodge City Ford County Development Corporation. Today, we're collaborating with one of our funding partners, the Kansas Department of Commerce. Jonathan Clayton is the Director of Economic Recovery for the Kansas Department of Commerce. He also continues to serve Southwest Kansas for business development and expansion. His office is located in Dodge City, but he is available to meet with businesses statewide on their expansion and growth opportunities. This last year in 2021, he was instrumental in the selection for Dodge City as the home to the new Hilmar cheese manufacturing facility, and that has a scheduled opening of 2024. So I'll let you take over, Jonathan.
Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with your constituents and everyone who has the opportunity to look into some business expansion and growth across the state of Kansas. I'll go ahead and just share my screen and we'll go ahead and get started here. Ashley, can you see this okay? Great. So just to kind of give a very brief introduction of some of the responsibilities that I handle with the Department of Commerce. As Ashley mentioned, I am the Director of Economic Recovery. I was named to that position in late summer of last year. And that role primarily has me working with the U.S. Economic Development Agency for all of the ARPA related funding that has come into the states over the last year, as well as applying for funding on behalf of the state of Kansas. And when we have entities that are applying for EDA funding, providing technical assistance support, letters of support, guidance for any regional or local applications. When I started with Commerce back in early 2020, I was named as the Southwest Kansas Regional Project Manager for in-state business development. It's kind of a mouthful, but that is the role that got me started with Commerce and what I still continue to do today. I get the luxury of having both roles. I still am based out of Southwest Kansas with my office in Dodge City. I wish I was in it more often, but it is a beautiful office and it gets me a lot of focus on the Dodge City and Southwest Kansas area. So for that specific role is what we're talking about today, and the regulations and the incentives that come along with in-state business development and growth. So just to kind of give an overview of where government and incentives fall into the big picture of overall economic development, we look at a lot of different factors and making sure that businesses can thrive and be successful in Kansas statewide. So we look at the quality of life, industry linkages, business environment, the cost of doing business, the labor and talent pool, and the overall infrastructure of the area. And this section here in blue that's highlighted is the government incentives portion of the business environment. So that's where, when you hear the word incentives, you might think it's some sort of kickback or some sort of opportunity for a business to just get money from the state. When in fact, what we're offering is an opportunity for a business that's either coming into Kansas or already here and wanting to expand. They have the opportunity to, once they've made that investment into the state, whether it's through hiring people, capital infrastructure projects, any sort of investment within the state of Kansas, we are authorized as a Commerce Department to provide those incentives to keep that business there, to help them grow, to help them with supply chain issues, and to help them make sure that they're in the right fit for the right type of industry. So the process that we generally go through is the same for all of our programs to make sure that a business is eligible and can get through the process successfully. So the general standard way that this works is we will receive a notification from a business or an agency inside of a county or city that would be interested in moving into or expanding within an area. We will then meet with that business and speak with them about what their needs are in terms of hiring, capital investment, any sort of dollars or people that they're going to be needing into this and bringing into the state, into the area. We take that information, and based off of the laws that the state has passed, we develop what's called an incentive proposal. And in that incentive proposal, we lay out all of the incentives that the business would be eligible for if they meet certain thresholds. So, for example, if they hire a certain number of people and they pay a good solid wage, we can then provide them with an incentive that matches that type of investment. The same goes for capital investment projects. So if someone's going to be building a brand new building or putting together an expanded office inside where they're already located, we can calculate based off of the statutes what they're going to be spending and what the state can then offer as an incentive to keep them here in Kansas and to help them grow. Once we get past the process of the proposal, we move into the actual applications and all of the paperwork that is involved. As we all know, Kansas, just like any other state, loves its paperwork and all of that comes with it. That's what my role is responsible for, is helping that business get that paperwork done, making sure that they haven't left anything out. They're tracking their receipts and their invoices and their payroll properly. And then once they have completed those requirements, whether it's hiring or spending a certain dollar amount on their capital projects, we then move into certification. So certification is that last step where we verify all of the data that was submitted by the business. We make sure that they have done what they told us that they were planning on doing, whether they're spending enough money or hiring enough people. And once that's verified and we issue certification for it, that's when the business will start receiving its incentives. And by the way, and I forgot to mention, if anyone has a question on anything that I'm going through, please feel free to interrupt me. I do not have a problem at all with answering questions in the middle. And then of course, we've got some time here at the end as well too. So this just shows kind of a breakdown where our state is separated in terms of the Commerce Department and our regional support structure. So if you see here on the bottom left corner, this kind of light turquoise blue, that is the region that I represent for Southwest Kansas. So we've got 18 very strong, very economically successful counties. And then we have all of our other regions broken up into areas. Sedgwick County is its own little environment of economic growth. So we have one person dedicated to that. And this map was actually just recently updated. Shawnee County was its own individual, had its own individual representative. It's now part of the KC Metro, Douglas County, Lawrence area as well. So we have one person that represents those 4 counties. So now I want to go into our actual programs that we have that we offer as incentives for businesses within the state. The first program is called PEAK, and it stands for Promoting Employment Across Kansas. And this is a really effective incentive that a lot of businesses can take advantage of. The qualifications for this are set up to where a regular business that is hiring under 100 people within the next 2 years has to pay at what's called the county median wage. And a county median wage, for anyone not familiar, is gathered from the Department of Labor, performs a survey every year to businesses statewide, and they ask what their wages are that they are paying their employees. And they take all of those wages and they stack them up in order. And whatever that wage that comes in at right in the middle of that list, that's considered the county median wage for that year. And so we use that number to then measure what that employer is going to pay. So if the county median wage was $17 for Ford County, that employer would, in order to qualify for this program, would have to pay any new hires at that $17 wage or higher. They can obviously pay higher if they can, but they have to hire at least 5 employees within a 2-year period to become eligible for that program at that wage. The other requirement is that the business has to offer health insurance for their staff. That can be, the minimum would need to be a single payer health insurance plan. and the employer would need to cover at least 50% of that monthly premium cost. So if you're hiring a lot of different people with a lot of different family needs for health insurance, that's fine. As long as you are offering a base plan for a single employee only, that will qualify you for the program. The benefit of this program is once you've met those thresholds and you've hired those minimum of 5 people within that first 2-year period, all of those people, when you as an employer submit your payroll tax filings on a quarterly basis to the state of Kansas, you will receive up to 95% back of the payroll tax withholding that you paid to the state for a minimum of 7 years. So once those people are installed in those positions and they start earning their wages and you start gathering what the withholding tax will be, you then receive a reimbursement from the state following that payment into your payroll tax account. The positions don't have to be the same employee for that full 7 years. If you hire someone for 2 years and they move on to another position, you're able to still take that incentive as long as you rehired within that same specific role. So if you hire 5 frontline manufacturing workers and they're all making that $17 an hour and they've got health insurance offered, they don't have to take it, but it has to be offered by the employer. And they're hired within those first 2 years of the contract date, that's when your benefits will start coming back to you from the state. Are there any questions on the PEAK program, or can I explain it in a different way that would help anyone make more sense to anybody? Okay. We'll move on to our big income tax credit program called HPIP, which stands for High Performance Incentive Program. This is a program that provides a lot of incentives for businesses either choosing to move to Kansas or if they have an existing structure and they need to expand. So we take a look at the qualifications first. They have to be a for-profit company. They can be a nonprofit company if they are a national headquarters. That's a very rare instance, but we do have that opportunity here in the state. They have to pay what's called above average wages. So where the PEAK program, we looked at all the wages in a certain county, we look at the wages of that same type of business in the same region. So if we're looking at meat processing facilities, we have all of that data that comes in through the payroll tax reports and everything for those specific type of businesses. We compare what that business that wants to qualify for their program, what their average is, and that's average from top to bottom, all the way from the frontline entry-level worker to the CEO. We look at we take all the wages combined, what they're estimated they're going to pay or have been paying, depending on the situation, and we take that average number, and that average number has to be above these publicly listed average wages for the same types of business in the region. And we have all of those wage information data on our website at kansascommerce.gov. You're eligible to go and look at that at any time you want to make sure if you're considering a program, what your wage threshold would have to be. It's a lot of numerical data and a lot of trying to figure out the right thing. So that's what I'm here for. And others in my same role around the state, we can help guide you through that process. Once you've made a minimum of $50,000 of an investment in your expansion or your new business, whether it's building a new building, buying some new equipment for manufacturing purposes, or any other major expansion purchase through your business, you can then start calculating what your incentive return will be from the state. And those incentives for this program are offered as a tax credit. So a tax credit is a dollar-for-dollar match at the end of your state tax bill. So if you are, as a business owner, owe the state of Kansas at the end of 2022 $20,000, but you have accumulated tax credits that equal $20,000, you have a $0 tax bill for that year. Whatever you accrue through this entire program, you'll have a set period of time where you can work on your construction, your labor that goes into all of the expansion, the materials, the cost of all of that, as well as your machinery and equipment that you have to purchase. Once you've got that all done, you send us the receipts. We add them all up to verify that they're eligible receipts for spending. We then will issue you those tax credits. You do not have to use those the first year. you're actually able to hold on to those for up to 16 years. So if you have a tax bill the first year that is only, let's say, $10,000, and you've got $50,000 in tax credits, it's kind of like a loaf of bread. You slice off what you need, you put the $10,000 towards that, and you're able to then have a $0 tax bill. You hold on to the other 40,000 for years 2 through 16. We made some changes to our program over the last year, made it a lot more viable and competitive to other states. So we do offer still a training tax credit. We do not require training to be a part of the actual program anymore. We ask that you would consider making an eligible employee training program that ties into your expansion. So if you need a new piece of manufacturing equipment and you need to train your staff on how to use it, that's great. We're very happy to make sure that you have the training funds available from the state. We offer those training programs, and we'll talk about those in a little bit, but they're not required anymore. And the other opportunity we have that we have made to maximize this incentive for this program is that you, as a business owner, are eligible to sell up to half of the tax credits that you receive from the state on what's called an open tax credit market. So that would be an opportunity where if you have, $20,000 left and you don't think you're ever going to need it, or it would take you too long to reimburse those, you can find a tax credit broker. There are several across the state that would be willing to help you sell those tax credits to someone who's interested in buying them. They're generally not a dollar for dollar amount because people wouldn't buy a tax credit, they would just pay their tax bill. But we've seen a lot of times where the return on those is about 50 to 70% of the amount that you're wanting to sell. So if you've got that $20,000 you want to sell, and those are eligible, you will most likely still be able to pocket $10,000 to $15,000 in cash from the sale of those tax credits to an eligible business or eligible tax credit owner across the state. Any other questions on the HPIP program before we move on? Okay. So this program is called the JCF, or the Job Creation Fund. And this is a program that allows us to kind of really make an opportunity and an offer to a business, most of them from businesses coming from outside of the state, either looking to expand into Kansas or maybe even relocate. It is a cash incentive that we offer for those types of businesses who are making a large employee investment in the state. That's why it's called the Job Creation Fund. So it's a threshold type of program where if you meet certain guidelines in terms of hiring a number of employees over a certain period of time, we'll be able to make that incentive to you as a state. It is an allowable fund that's discretionary by the Secretary of Commerce. It has a very small budget, so we don't get to use it that often, and only about 2 to 4% of our projects that we have statewide will receive any funds from this. So it is an opportunity if you do know or have a business that's wants to move into your area from out of state. This is our cherry on top type of incentive that we offer. Then the next two programs I'll talk about are fairly similar, but they are definitely unique in their ability to assist businesses with their training needs. And the first program is called Kansas Industrial Training, or KIT for short. And we kind of use a combination of the requirements from the first two programs, PEAK and HPIP. And we look to see that your business is a manufacturing or one of the 9 basic industry classifications in the state. Manufacturing is a very easy one to kind of go with. Or you're a national and regional headquarters. You do have to pay at that average wage. We look at average wages for this. And what the incentive offers is a training stipend that the business receives. So if you have a new business or an expanded business that's buying a piece of machinery or equipment, and you want to train your staff on that, if you as the business owner and your HR department or your COO or whomever in your field develops a training program, which we will help you develop, we can actually as a state provide you up to $300 to $500 on average as a reimbursement for those training needs. So if it's the time spent by the manager that's training the staff, it's the materials, if it's costs for bringing an outside trainer, like a vendor trainer, into your facility, and they charge you, their time, their materials, their travel, that can be up to a certain dollar amount reimbursed to you from the state, as long as you meet the qualifications for that program. This is for new jobs. So any new jobs that are coming in is the KIT program. And then for retraining, these are for existing positions that we have for businesses that are already here in the state. This is our CUR program. It's the same as KIT, same requirements. We just need to make sure that you are training on new technology, or you're incorporating existing technology that's into a new process with the business. So it doesn't meet for everything. We don't just train, get someone trained on Microsoft Word or Excel or Outlook. But if you are upgrading, or you're going to train, you want to send someone to training for marketing, or send them to training for web design, or maybe they need new training on this new pieces of equipment that comes in, this is an eligible program that would allow you to make that investment and then receive that return from the state for your investment in your staff. So that's our main big programs we have from the state. I know that's kind of a lot, and I'll make sure that Ashley gets a copy of this presentation. That way she can forward this out to everybody who is here and make this available to anybody else who has questions about our programs. Are there any questions on any of the programs we spoke to, or anything else I can try to answer what we're here today? Okay, Ashley, I will turn it back over to you.
Question.
We'll go right ahead. Absolutely.
Or maybe a couple, it depends. On the HPIP program, is that just for, you said manufacturing?
So we look at what different types of businesses will apply, and that's a really good question. So manufacturing is an automatic qualifier, and we verify if you are a manufacturer based off of how you registered with the state of Kansas. If you are not a manufacturer, you are still eligible to take advantage of the program, but you do have to meet some revenue guidelines that we have that are itemized out in our application and guidebook. Those revenue guidelines, if you're not a manufacturer, are basically if you receive revenue from outside of the state. So if you sell items or services that you receive revenue from, say, Colorado or New Mexico or Texas, we need to make sure that at least half of your revenue is coming from out of state, or you are selling your products or services to manufacturers within the state of Kansas. So you could be selling an item if you are a welder and you are welding materials, or you're providing that service to a manufacturer inside the state of Kansas. If at least 50% of your revenue comes in from those businesses that are manufacturers, then you're also eligible to apply for that too. The same would be if you were a web designer and you had a majority of, at least 50% of your businesses that you sold to were either manufacturing or from out of state, you would be eligible for that same program. If that answers your question. All right. Any other questions from you, Ashley, or anybody else?
Ashley, this is Danielle.
Yes, Danielle, what can I help you with?
Are any of these for small businesses or people that are just now starting out, like only have themselves as employed and maybe like planning on hiring one other person since their business is small right now?
Yes. So actually the HPIP program does allow small startup businesses to use it and get the same incentives as a large business. The one requirement that we have in order to get that average wage is you do have to hire one person. It doesn't mean that you have to hire them before you start. You can hire them down the road, but we wouldn't be able to give you the tax credits on the program until you hired that person. That allows us to calculate what the average pay is for your staff. So if you as a business owner are, say, making $40,000 and your your employee that you hire makes $30,000, we would average you at 35. We do have to have just one additional person for a business other than just the business owner. That's a really good question. Anyone else have questions that we can try to answer today?
I maybe have one more.
Sure.
This a while ago, you and I discussed a program that I don't think you mentioned today about if you turning one thing into something else. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think that was how we identified what a manufacturer was.
Oh, okay,
For the
perfect.
HPIP program. So that's, we look at, if you are a business, like if you are, say, like a flour mill, you're turning grain into flour, or if you are turning one product into another, that's kind of the first way that we can determine if you're technically a manufacturer by nature or by design of your business. Once, and that's if you haven't, like, filed with the state or don't have anything on record. Usually we'll look at your state records first to see how you've registered your business, and if there's either a mistake or an error on anyone's part that where maybe you were misclassified, we can always take a look at that and try to get you changed over to the proper code so that we can get you qualified for a program.
Thanks.
Sure, no problem. Any other questions today?
I do have a question. If, for example, you were mentioning the welder. If the welder lives in Oklahoma, but works in Kansas, will that work for that person?
Unfortunately not. So the way that we calculate an eligible employee is that they have to be living in and working in Kansas. They can be a remote worker. So if you have an office where you've got people working remotely, that would make that person eligible. But unfortunately, the business owner, or excuse me, the employee has to be located inside the state of Kansas, both as a resident and a worker.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, Ashley, if there's no other questions, I appreciate your time very much, and everybody here asking all their questions. And I'll be available if anyone has any follow-ups. My information's here on the screen, and I'm happy to help any business or anybody I can in Southwest Kansas and statewide.
Thanks, Jonathan.